Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 5 of the Amanda Notando Show. I'm Amanda, and thank you guys for watching. This season will have a totally different vibe as we go topical and will be focused on cherishing the men in every aspect, from their mental health to their emotional and social well being, which will eventually unpack my journey in the last 2 years towards the end of the season. So don't miss any episode for you to understand my journey with the help of my phenomenal guests who will shed light through their journeys as well, which will eventually make sense towards the end of the season. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest for today. Makachi Chimusaru is an Albertan author who has survived raising 2 kids as a single parent father after the passing away of his beloved wife, Gloria Chimusaru. But you already know that this season is focused on cherishing the men, as I had been talking about previously when I invited you to come over. And one of the issues that men struggle with is talking about their mental health, their emotional well being, the social well being, be it grieving, be it whatever. And today we're going to be focusing on your book, Journeys of My Soul, which has now quite interestingly, I didn't realize we had 2 copies that were different, but it actually helps, Kuti. The reason why I even called you was because I had read the first edition, but it would be lovely to read this edition
Oh,
and
yeah.
focus on grieving. So, Journeys of My Soul, the survivor of a single parent father. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the moment that you decided to write that book. Kanawuti Titi Wilo, who is Makachi as an individual before the book?
Yeah, that is a very good question. It's a good starting point. Makachi Chimusaru is a man born in Zimbabwe today. You call it Zimbabwe today, but it was the then Rhodesia back in 1962 of August 20th.
Mhm.
I was born in the southern part of the country, which is namely Bulawayo, in a family of 4 then, right?
Mhm.
I'm the second of the 4 siblings, with a sister who is the first, and 2 younger brothers that did follow me. I should say, right from the start, uh, my life was kind of mystic, because even the name that I carry wasn't given to me by my parents, but it was given to me by my grandfather, which was some kind of traditional, you know, kind of situation, which I had to investigate as I grew up, and it all molded me into who I am, and ultimately having to decide to put my life out there in the form of the book we are going to be discussing.
Right.
So, growing up in Bulawayo, I attended all my basic education out there, namely uh, Mbizo School, which was my first primary school in Luveve, Bulawayo, and then moved over to Mpumelelo in Popoma, where I wrote my grade 7. There were issues which caused me to transfer there, and I don't think we'll have enough time to cover those. Um,
Okay. In the book, you can just hint some of the stuff to say, if anything, this is in the book. It kind
yeah,
of, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so after the Mpumelelo education, I went out to Harare, where me and my sister, were enrolled at St. Peter's Kubatana, which is in somewhere in Glenorade. And that was an opportunity for us to learn Shona,
Oh,
since
wow.
my father was Shona and my mother was Ndebele. That
Mm.
time we had no clue about Shona. So that
Wow.
was an opportunity for us to start learning Shona. But I was only there for 2 years. Then we were transferred. I was transferred to Solusi College. By then, it was not a university; it
Okay.
was a college. So I was there until 1978 because it was at the height of the armed struggle. At that particular time, liberation forces visited the school, and that prompted the Rhodesian government to shut down the school in order to protect the staff and the children. So it was then that I transferred to Christian Brothers College, CBC in Bulawayo. That's when I finished
Back
my.
then compared to now. Now it's still a good school. So back then it was like top notch.
Oh yes, we were actually the first group of black children
Mm-hmm.
to go there at that time, 1978.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine the competition that was there, because being a minority in terms of color then, because color bars there during that time were quite prominent.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to learn harder, but that I think helped to prop us up until I went through my A levels, uh, where I passed very well and won a government scholarship. I chose the Soviet Union. It
Mm-hmm.
was by choice
Right.
because I was curious about the Iron Curtain that was always talked about,
Right.
and being the country that assisted us during the liberation struggle. So
Hmm.
there was that affinity. Yeah,
Didn't like my history like that. I'm learning history now. So thank you for
yeah,
educating me on that part.
yeah. It was that affinity that made me gravitate to that
Mhm.
because it was a country that gave a lot to our liberation forces and opened up our eyes in terms of self determination and self definition and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, to me, choosing that country through education was quite an achievement for me because it fulfilled my dreams.
Mhm.
So I went out there to study agronomy, where I excelled and came out with an honors up to a master's degree in agronomy. So I hold a master's degree in agronomy. Uh, then that means I stayed there for 6 years for my degree program. That was between 1983 to 1989.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was during that time that I explored a lot of Europe, both East and West. I crossed the Berlin Wall. I did everything.
Right.
There is a lot to share in
Mm,
terms of my experiences. I
mm,
did touch a little bit of that in my book, but
mhm.
I intend to publish a second book where I went into detail with my experiences in Europe, both East and West.
Right.
In 1989 July,
Mhm.
I arrived back home after graduating,
Hey, yeah,
and
that's how I was born. Then you saw your
Mafikizolo.
niece a year old.
We call you Mafikizolo.
I know. Yes.
Yes. If you want to know the history of Zimbabwe, talk to me because I was almost mature at that time when all things were happening. So I
Right.
know things. I don't have to read about it. I will tell you the truth of what I was seeing and what I experienced and what really happened.
Right. And with the,
So,
I am so curious the reason why we're having this interview. I've also started, I hated history. I hated history. Maths was my number one. History, dates, dates when, because apparently they say for you to pass history, you need to know the dates, you need to know the names, and that used to annoy me the most. But
yes.
now I'm at a point where the older I get, having to wanting to learn my heritage, my culture, where I come from, and whatever, I do
Mhm.
my research. And now even I ask your brother, Uncle
Yeah.
revolutionary, right? And there's some
Yeah.
stuff that I didn't know. I'm like, why do people believe this to be true? You know,
You see?
because
Yeah.
apparently some of it is not even written in our history
Mhm.
books because you know
Yes.
how our political situation sometimes some of it wasn't even written down considering what really happened among
Hmm.
us as the original Zimbabweans, like as in the Shonas, Mandebeles, and all the tribalism situation. And then you get to learn that to say, okay, I'm bilingual. How am I bilingual? How did that happen? How, how were people not merging or allowed to be together because of, the tribe and stuff. So I'm actually learning, and I guess I will come to you for more.
Oh, yeah. We will talk. There's a lot to share,
Mm.
and I hope listeners would pick what resonates with them. And, you know, this is how learning goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
getting into the book though, and having to have said like a brief introduction about who Makachi is, right? We've
Yes.
got to a point where we know your background. And now you mentioned too that you're going to be writing a second book. We're excited about that. But
Mhm.
let's do a wheeler. We have the current book, The
All
Journeys
right.
of the Soul.
Let's
So
all right. Let's start from my time
yeah.
in Zimbabwe after
Right.
graduating. That's when the whole ball started.
Okay.
Right. The most important thing I omitted there was to mention that before I left for my education in the Soviet Union in 1983, I had already met, I was already dating my future wife then,
Mm-hmm.
um Gloria the late.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she, we made promises and vows to wait for each other, which we did, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I returned home, she was still there waiting for me. And that year, we got married.
She was amazing. I loved Auntie Gloria. May her
Yes.
soul rest in peace. Yeah.
So I worked for the government, Agritex. I became the crops officer
Mm-hmm.
of Mbulili Mamangwe, the Plumtree area. By
Mm.
then, Mbulili Mamangwe was not divided into north and south. It was the whole thing. So I controlled the cropping programs from Bellevue in
Mm-hmm.
Bulawayo
Mm-hmm.
to Cholocho border,
Mm-hmm.
Botswana border,
Mm-hmm.
and Kezi border. The
Right.
Wulinamangwa side, all the cropping programs, I was the officer responsible for that.
Okay.
So while I was working there, something clicked in my mind. Having stayed in Europe for 6 years and you're observing life back home, I thought my family was too dependent on me, and I didn't like that
Hmm.
because I pictured a situation where, let's say, if I would cross over,
Mm-hmm.
what would they do?
I like that. I like that thought. I like that thought. Yeah. Yeah.
You see? So this is when we took up this discussion in the bedroom with my wife, and fortunately, my wife was open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
She liked the idea that I proposed because I proposed to her that we need to leave the country,
Yeah.
go up north, which
Mm-hmm.
is either Europe or North America,
Yeah.
where there will be a better future and opportunity for our children and us at home, and none of us will be dependent on each other.
Right. But then by then the country was still good. No?
No, the country
Okay.
was going down. You see,
So
if you
what
had,
year was that?
you see, what it was 1983 when I left,
Mm-hmm.
by the time I came back 1989, I could see the
Oh,
degradation.
okay. Okay.
And as a government worker, as an agronomist who had experienced life in the first world,
Mm-hmm.
I could see telltale signs
Yeah.
of the country going down.
Right.
And that worried me. That's what prompted me to think about living whilst the sun shines.
Yeah.
See, I was always a man who was thinking ahead. I never worried much about the past. I worried about the present and what the present will give me in the future.
Right.
That's my nature right now. If I live a life today, I want to know what I'm doing today. What will it give me tomorrow?
Right.
Some kind of investment, like
Mhm.
what I do. So, anyway, cut a long story short, first I tried to go to the UK.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, nature did not allow that.
You're right.
Because I tried 3 times, and all the 3 times I was turned back at the airport. And then it dawned to me that maybe UK is not my destination.
Mm.
Luckily, during those years, that was 2001, those years, the Zimbabwean passport was still powerful, and most Commonwealth countries did not require a visa, so we could actually board a plane and go to any of those countries without a problem. So
Mhm.
it dawned to me, oh man, let me go to Canada. Why didn't I think of Canada?
Mhm.
So saved up my money and I flew out here. And here am I. Managed to drag all my family,
Mm.
and life started anew. We arrived in Toronto. First, it was me, March 2001. And then I worked and sent for my wife in October 3rd, 2001. She joined me. We worked together, and then the children joined us in 2003, December 24th.
Oh wow! Just before Christmas.
Yes, the day before
What a
Christmas. Yeah.
Christmas present!
Yeah. So we settled in Toronto for 6 years.
Mhm.
We had a good experience there. That's the story of another day.
Mhm.
And
And that's
then,
chapter 8, guys. Get into chapter 8 if you want to know that chapter. But
yeah.
anyway.
And then we decided to move west. That is Western Canada.
Mhm.
So there was no GPS those days. We used to do map reading.
Right.
So
Still
we
love.
drove. We
Yeah.
drove because we wanted to see Canada. So we drove from Toronto
Oh
right
wow.
up to Calgary.
Oh wow.
He was reading the map and I was driving.
Wow. Talk about
So yeah, I'm telling you, it was quite an experience.
right.
It's also mentioned in my book.
In chapter 9, guys.
Exactly. Yes. You read the book.
Oh,
You
I
read
read
the
the
book.
book.
Right. So we settled in Calgary for a year,
Yeah.
and that was 2007, 2006 of May to 2007 May.
Oh
Those
wow.
were the those were the boom years, oil boom years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that meant that accommodation and all prices were inflated in Calgary.
Were
Yeah.
they?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Now Calgary is good. Not back then.
Wow.
So we decided, because of my experience in Europe, I knew that going to smaller towns, life is usually cheaper.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
Go
we
slower.
decided to venture. Yeah, we decided to venture. We didn't know anybody, but just used the map. We started going up north through Airdrie up to Red Deer. Mm, we were not impressed by the winters, so we turned around. So we tried the south. That's how we ended up in Lethbridge.
Mm.
Uh, so we settled in Lethbridge from June 2007 up to now.
Right.
Right. Unfortunately, at that time, my wife's health was failing. She was always in and out of the doctor's offices. Uh, she had complications after she had a miscarriage back home. it turns out that when they were cleaning her womb, I think damage was done in the womb with that DNC process they do, but no one noticed it. So she was bleeding. So all the doctors could see here was her anemic stage. They could see anemia, but they didn't know how that anemia started. Yet it was, blood was kind of coming out when we thought maybe she had heavy periods or periods that don't totally end, because one of doctors kind of detected blood in her urine sample when she was totally out of her period, but they couldn't suspect that it could have been bleeding from that miscarriage, So they just started treating and, throwing antibiotics here and there. So that affected her kidneys and complicated a lot of things until she passed. So what really hurt me most was that she traveled back home in October of 2007. That was the 10th of October 2007. She had this agenda to go and see her mother's resting place. Her mother had passed away the previous year, and because we didn't have proper travel documents then, we could not attend the funeral. So by that time, we had some travel documents, so she managed to go there. But she intended to stay there for 2 weeks, but it never was because she deteriorated when she was there in terms of her health, and tried to run around hospitals with all the shortages of 2007 and 2008. Finally, she crossed over. January 17th, 2008. And I was out here with the kids.
And so, what was going through your mind at that moment when you heard she's no more? You're overseas, you don't have proper documentation then.
Yes.
She is your soulmate. You've been through a lot for, having to see having to wait for you and all that stuff, right? What was
Mhm.
going through your mind then when you just heard the news?
Let me tell you what really happened.
Mm,
See, while she was sick and we were taking her in and out of hospitals in Zimbabwe,
mm,
there's a stage where you go beyond depression and believe you are normal. A
wow.
lot of people think depression is the highest, but there is a stage where you say, okay, whatever happens,
Mm.
it's destiny. So you stop listening to the physical body.
So, in other words, does it mean that even if for you would have accepted prior to the point that you won't feel the emotion eventually when it happens? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. I would say I was preparing myself.
Right.
Understand that life prepared me for things like this way back home
Mm.
when my mother passed in front of me and I was the only one there.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That prepared me. That was actually a gift from that soul. Because, yes, it was hard to
Mm.
take. But after the whole situation, I became a stronger man.
Mm.
So when it happened, and when I was facing it in my house in the form of my wife going in and out of hospital, that reference came back to my mind
Mm.
to say, what if she passes? How will I take it? But
Mm.
just because my soul self had experienced that when my mother passed,
Mm.
I was more prepared.
So, pause right
So,
there. So pause right there. As
Yes,
a man, you're taught not to cry growing up in our culture, right?
right.
Men are taught not to cry, to show their masculine side is by not crying, right? To show
Right.
that you're a man. So when grandma passed away, how did you heal from that, if I should put it that way? How did you grieve? How did you heal from that? Because for you to experience it again, there should have been a way that you said, okay, mama has passed away, so how do I move forward? Having to see that too is traumatic, right? So how did you deal with that as a man, not being able to express your emotions, yet you know that you're hurting inside, starting with your mom, right? In
Yeah,
order for
that's
stronger.
a very good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, back then I used to be a different man. I used to drink. I used
Oh,
to,
gotcha. Yeah.
yes, I used to even touch some little bit of marijuana then.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I guess numbing
Okay.
my grief using substances
Mm.
played a role there.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Um, I carried that character right through the time my wife was sick.
Okay.
What I realized was soon after the passing of my mother, right through to my wife's episodes, I became a heavy drinker.
Mm.
There was a point I would sit for a 750 ml bottle of vodka and I would empty it on my own.
Wow.
Remember, I started drinking in 1978, so I drank for 35 years. I
Wow.
don't drink anymore. Ever
Yeah.
since I wrote that book, I stopped.
Wow. Power to you.
So, right. That being the case, let's go back to the story of my wife.
Mm.
So, whilst I'd prepared myself for eventualities while
Mm.
she was in and out of hospital,
Mhm.
let me tell you one thing that happened.
Mhm.
The night before I received the call of her person,
Mhm.
she came into my dreams.
Oh wow.
She was putting on a black nylon kind of night
Mhm.
dress, long one.
Mhm.
So we were sort of in a party,
Mhm.
right? And then came to me and said, "Oh, Mark, I'm tired, you know.
Mhm.
I think I want to go back home. But you know what? I'll wait for you at that bus station. Do whatever you need to do. Don't go, don't follow me, don't worry. I'll be fine. I'll wait for you at that bus station. I see you still have your friends. There's things you need to do with your friends."
Mhm.
Then I tried to stop her and say, "No, no, 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 wait for me so that we can go together." She said, "No, no, 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 no. Don't worry, I don't want to disturb your happiness in the party. Me,
Mhm.
I'm just tired. You'll see that bus stop. I'll be waiting for you there."
Mhm.
So she opened the door. When I tried to stop her, she said, "No, no, 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 remain." So she shut the door. So I could see her sitting in that bus stop. It was a glass bus stop that was kind of transparent.
Mhm.
So I remained with my friends. Then I woke up. And guess what? An hour later, the phone rang. That was 5 a.m.,
Mhm.
17th of January 2008.
Mhm.
And that was the sister who is in the US telling me that my wife had crossed over.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, she had forgotten her wristwatch with us in the house.
Yeah, you mentioned about that, and it stopped right on time.
Yes.
It stopped right on time.
So there are no coincidences in life, there are no accidents.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everything is perfect. It was meant to be.
Right. So after numbing your
So,
emotions, hearing the news,
yeah.
now life in Lethbridge after crossing of glory. Now, actually, during the moment, how then did you how was the confusion? How was the numbness? How was the?
Let me tell you what happens in life.
Mm-hmm.
I was married for 18 years.
Mm.
That was the face I saw first every day, and the face I saw last every day of my life.
Mm.
So for 18 years, I lived with that soul, and now she was gone. We were so close that at some point I thought I would follow her. But guess what? There's a pain that when it hits you, you begin to ask questions about life in general. Why should people feel pain this way?
Yeah.
Why should people remain alive when others cross over?
Mm.
That was the time I met myself. Do you understand when I say, when you go to a mirror, you look at the mirror. When you look at the mirror, you are not looking at your physical body only, but no, you go beyond your physical body with questions unanswered. Why should I feel this pain? Where has my friend gone? What is this thing called death?
So,
All
question,
those questions came to me
right? So, with
right
those
at that
questions,
moment.
right? And so, with those questions, sorry to cut you off. With those questions, then knowing our background, grandma, your mom, who raised us in a Christian background, right? Did that not take you back to say the word says, we're temporary on this earth, you know, because he who giveth life can take it anytime, right? And for you to be questioning that, was it in a way of saying you're asking you or you're asking the creator? At what who were you in conversation with at that moment?
I was in conversation with myself.
And how were you able, or how did you think you'd be able to get the answers from yourself?
Right. Looking at the spiritual side of my life,
Mm,
right from day one,
mm,
I used to be dragged to church.
that's it. Well, we were told not to sleep without praying. I know that. I grew up in that household.
So the key word is drag there,
Okay. Okay.
because one thing I could not understand was,
Hmm.
if God created everything,
Okay.
everything there is,
Okay.
to me, it means he created Satan.
Okay. That's fair.
Because if he didn't create Satan,
Mm,
then Satan must be God. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean. Yeah. That's
But
fair.
yes, but since I understood that God was the ultimate creator,
Hmm.
no religious book or doctrine could answer my question. What is this Satan? So I always had that question,
Okay.
and it was unanswered. And this is why I was always looking outside religion for answers. My going to the Soviet Union was more than political.
How so?
Back then, the Soviet Union was a communist country, and
Yeah.
they never believed in religion. They had scientific socialism.
Wow.
So I went to study that, and I did study it as a private extra lesson to know, to get an insight
Mm,
of what it was all about.
mm.
During that time, I became an atheist.
Mm.
You know what an atheist is,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was an atheist for a good 10 years.
Mm. Wow.
By the time I came back home from the Soviet Union, religion to me was at least put aside. I was an atheist.
Okay. And
But
it's
then,
fair when you explore, it's fair now that you're older to figure out what it is you
exactly.
believe in. You know what I mean? Why am I believing in this? Why
Yes,
why was I forced to believe in that more than this? This is logical to me, and I get you. I get you.
yes.
Mm.
So now the pros of both sides created a new me. I took the pros of religion and the pros
Of atheist.
of atheism,
Yeah.
put them together,
Mm.
came up with something that I could not place my hand on, but
Okay.
it was neither the two. I
Okay.
knew, I knew I had to be a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, for lack of word, better word, a
Mm-hmm.
good person. I must be loving. I must try to do my best in everything that I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the basis of the then thing. So
Mm-hmm.
when I came to Canada, it happened that sometime there used to be a program on TV called Montello.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. That guy used to interview a spirit medium called, what's that lady? Sylvia Brown.
Okay.
That spirit medium lady, this is a woman who was born with a gift to talk with the other side. That is, we talk with the departed. So it amazed me. That was my first time to see that.
Mm.
So she could look at you like this and start telling you about your life, describe your mother and everything. People she never. This is like what you call the sixth sense. Have you seen that movie called The Sixth Sense for this young little boy with
Yeah,
sixth
yeah,
sense?
yeah, 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 yeah. It's an old film. Yeah, I remember.
There's people like that. They are real. That's not a movie.
Yeah.
I've met people like that.
Mm.
So when I saw that Montello, I started searching for people like that in Calgary, Lethbridge, and Neville. And then I actually got my reading. So that's when I began to understand that, wait a minute, there's more to life than what we were taught. That
Mm.
was another dimension now that came into my life. So what
Mm.
did that mean? It to me, it meant that death is not the end.
Right.
If there's people who can communicate with people who are dead and they are sitting right here, they are not using any magic, they are born with that gift,
Mm. Mm.
then death is not the end.
Right.
And at that time, my wife was still alive. We got fascinated in that kind of thinking. So every time there was that Montel program, we would sit and watch it together.
Wow.
So by the time she crossed over, we were already talking about, you know what we were taught growing up, some of it could be a lie.
Mm.
It was just conditioning. There's more to life than meets the eye.
Mm.
Who are we? Do we really die? What is
Mm.
this death? So it was at that time when these questions were reigning in our mentality that she passed. So by the time now I received the news of her passing, that made me now even more curious about
Mm.
who am I. So I cannot get my answers in religion. I cannot get my answers in atheism. But there's this lady who could talk to people who are dead. So let me look for somebody who can talk to my wife and find out where she is. That's
And
what
what
came to
was
my mind.
at that moment? Was it a way to figure out if truly there is life after death? Because why would
Exactly.
you
That's when
look
all
for?
everything started. That's where everything started. It was also part of grief management. Remember?
Because I was gonna say because you were so disconnected with the family for a long time.
Yes,
So
yes,
at that moment, so that's why I was like, you know what? The reason we're having this discussion is I wanted to understand, especially that moment where you
yeah,
were try I know it's grieving, and people grieve differently, and
yeah.
grieving has no time frame, time limit, or whatever.
That
But
is
it's quite fascinating to say I got deeper into, I guess, does it tie down to metaphysics?
yes. I'm actually a metaphysicist. That's what I was gonna tell you.
Ooh, talk to me.
Yes, and I've gone through a course already. First stage. I'm going to go to my second one, and I've graduated on the first one. I'm
Right.
a metaphysicist, and if you read my book,
Mm.
I mentioned that my outlook in life is metaphysical.
Okay. So at what point did you fall to metaphysics? Because from Christianity to atheism to removing those two and then metaphysics.
You see, it is in metaphysics that I found the answers about
Okay.
the pain that
Mm,
I felt when my wife crossed over.
okay.
You see, a week after she was buried, I set out to look for a medium in Lethbridge to try and find out if I could connect with her really, seeing that I had seen somebody in Montel's program doing it. So if it is real, this person should tell me and describe my wife without me saying a word and hear what she's saying. And guess what?
Why wasn't therapy your first option or thought?
All this was therapy to me.
Okay.
You see, let me tell you one thing.
Mm,
You and only you are responsible for your life.
that's it.
That's my basics. And guess where I got that from? I used to listen to reggae, remember?
A lot of it. Peter Tosh.
That one. You
Yeah,
remember a song called I Am That I Am?
yeah, yeah.
That's where I got this philosophy to say nobody else but you are responsible for your life.
Of course.
You can
Given
change your life.
given choices. You make your own choice.
Life is a choice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I was always independent in my way of doing things. If I'm looking for answers, I have the ultimate say of a choice that I want to take.
Mm,
So, having faced that pain and met myself and asked, where is my partner now? What happened to her? Can she really see me? Is it total darkness where she is? Is it the end? Or is it that she just shed the body, she can see me? And if that is the case, I want to find out. And I will find out my way. I will not ask anybody, but I will only look for help from relevant sources. I will tell you one thing.
hmm.
You know that bookshop called Chapters?
Yeah.
I bought over 200 books and read them all on metaphysics, spiritualism, and all. That was part of my therapy.
In those peaceful 10 years.
Yes. And I've donated those books to different churches
Mm.
so as to enlighten people.
And
There
how
is
did
a lot
how
this
did they
world doesn't know. Eh?
take that?
So that was part of my therapy too,
Okay.
researching about life after death. I had come to accept that death is not the end because even if you are not taught, we know there's a ghost. What is a ghost? I want you to know that. If life ends in death, then what is a ghost?
Mm.
And why are some people not ghosts, but some are ghosts?
Mm.
So that is the other side of life that no one wants to talk about today and no one wants to find out.
Mm.
So I started about learning, who am I? So that's when I went into metaphysics and quantum physics. I went through all that. I did a lot of studying. You see, an interview like this one, you need a series to understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
1 hour is not enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the basic tenet is all answers about each and every one of us lie within us.
Absolutely. But then does it not come back then when you say that, does it not come back to what religion, Christianity, let's put it that way, because religion is broad, what Christianity believes it to be the Holy Spirit within us? Is it not, or is it a term that's just used according to, or
Yeah,
what's your
yeah, that's a very good question. Let me answer you. Once you know who you are, then you will understand that there's a vast difference between the Holy Spirit and you. Do you understand?
Right. Okay.
Right. What is a soul? That's one thing I wanted to understand. That's where the question and differences come in. You know what I would say if you ask me that? I would say you are the soul.
How come? Where would that answer come from?
Let me tell you, let me show you one thing. I made an experiment. There's what you call out of body experience, OBE. Have you ever heard of that?
About that, yeah, I remember, yeah.
I would encourage you to experiment on yourself. Don't be told by me. Don't be told by anybody. You are here to chart your life path. Experiment about you, and that knowledge is yours, and it will make you move forward.
Absolutely.
I read about out of body experience during my quantum physics and metaphysics studies. So I experimented on myself. I lay down on my couch and started moving eyes. There's an experiment called moving of eyes. You move them up and down, the black eyes without moving your head. You lay upright, right? Looking at the ceiling. Move your eyes up, down, out, down, sideways, sideways until you start feeling dizzy. Continue doing that. There's a stage past that dizziness. You start feeling sounds in your ears, ringing sounds. Continue doing that, and guess what? I lifted up from my body.
Wow.
Looked at my body from up, and then I got frightened and slammed back. Well, that was my first time.
Actually, genuine about that. I got frightened. You're human.
Yeah, I have to be honest because that was my first time, right? That was my first time. Right. You know what I'm getting at there?
Yeah.
The me that lifted up.
Yeah.
The soul. That's my essence.
Oh, wow.
So we are more than these bodies. We shared these bodies. The me that lifted up is the me that came to inhabit in this body and will live it. Everyone can do that.
Wow.
You can do, like I said, don't listen to me. Read about out of body experience and read about how you can induce it on yourself. And do it on yourself. Don't take what I'm telling you. Do it yourself.
Right. So going back though, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So my definition of the soul is an energy that came from the creator to come and experience the physical world. The body is physical, so it uses the body because the body comes with the emotions. So when you're in the bedroom, what are we doing? We're not creating children, no. All we are doing is creating the flesh. The soul comes from the spirit world. It's a part of God. It's a spark. See, there's only one spirit, and that spirit is God.
Mm-hmm.
Picture
Okay.
a fire. Picture a fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say that fire is God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the sparks that come from that fire, those little sparks that go out like that?
Mm-hmm.
Those little sparks are what you call a soul. Those are us.
Really?
So when you spark out like that, that spark comes and inhabits the body, experiments whatever it wants to experiment. When it is finished, it comes out, tries to go back home. But to go back home to the big fire, it's got to be clean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if it's not clean, it's forced to come back until it is clean. This is where reincarnation comes back. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the last disciple of reincarnation. Reincarnation to me is grace in action. A slate is wiped clean for you to try again until you are clean and you go back.
Wow. So going through all these studies and, getting deeper, since you said you'd already started venturing into it when Auntie Gloria was still alive, and then afterwards, the passing of her and doing the studies, whatever, how then did you get to a point where you were like, okay, now I want to write a book about my
Wait a
journey?
minute. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
After doing all these experiments on myself, I
Yeah.
started communicating with my late wife.
Oh, really?
She helped me raise these children.
Oh my God.
Every time
Yeah.
she came to my dream,
Yeah.
either pointing to one of the children or holding one of them, I knew I should watch that kid. Either the kid will be sick or something will happen. Every time.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll be sitting and I just hear a voice in my head about something I need to do. And if I do it, it's all good. Then I said to myself, to prove that she's somewhere in the spirit
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Yeah. That she's helping you raise your kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, give me
Okay.
a sign that will make me agree that you are around.
Mm. Mm.
Guess what happened?
Okay.
2009, September the 9th. I woke up in the morning as usually. It was around 5 a.m.,
Mm.
preparing to go to work. I was all alone. All windows were closed. There was no wind. There was nothing. It was only me with the light and sipping my coffee to run out. So we had the apartment we had, where this glass door, where we had the curtains covering that glass door and the pelmet.
Okay.
That pelmet, there were wooden, these wooden decorative cars.
Okay.
She had put them there before she passed away. And guess what happened?
They all
She,
fell.
she pushed one of them and it fell on my feet. And guess what? When that was happening, in my mind, forehead here, what they call the third eye, I
Yeah.
could see her laughing. Imagine in the morning, you're alone, no wind, doors are closed and everything. I had asked for that 7 days before.
Wow.
You could tell somebody pushed that car and it fell on my feet.
Mm. Mm.
Then I said to myself, I've learned my lesson. No one tells me anything. This is not a ghost. This is not a ghost. My answer has been achieved. And
Yeah.
guess what? And then there's a second instance.
Yeah.
I said, I want to know where you are staying.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I
Yeah.
think when people are sleeping,
Yeah.
some kind of death, I think your soul kind of comes out of your body when your body is resting,
Okay.
and then it communicates with the other side. So she came to my dreams and took me to where she was staying. And guess what I saw there?
Mm.
Colors are brighter there.
Wow.
It was different. The water that I saw,
Mm.
you see, when you look at ocean water, it's
Mm.
kind of bluish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there, the blue is so strong as if it it overlaps to the green.
Mm.
It's a color that I can only see in my mind, but we have no word for it here.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into that water, it
Mm.
feels like water, but you don't get wet.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there were plants in there that looked like half um mushroom, but
Mm.
half plant. But when you look at them and touch them, you feel what they feel when they are feeling your energy.
Right. Right.
Everything is more of feel over there than seeing. It's more of feel.
Mm.
I was only there for about 5 seconds, but it was like I was there for 5 minutes. I'll tell you, colors were brighter. Everything you kind of understand why it is there, the purpose of it being there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that thing feels about your presence, something like that. It's more feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with all that experience that I was recording,
Mm-hmm.
it was time for me to share my story.
Wow.
And when I looked back at my life and the conditioning that I got as a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
most of the conditioning that was given to me was almost a lie.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
There is life after death, but
So
without the physical body.
without the physical body. So question though, see, now that you mentioned that, to say, you saw it as being conditioned in a different way, right?
Yes.
To believe
Mhm.
what we were raised to believe.
Yeah.
And earlier on, when we started the interview, and you had mentioned that you have a revised version because the other one was filled with so many emotions. Was it out of anger of what we had been raised to believe, or what led to you having to revise? Because I believe, honestly, having to write the first one, the way you expressed yourself, you're allowed to express the way you feel or the way you've lived or whatever, right? But for you to eventually revise it, what difference is there? Because I haven't read the new one. I just learned now that there's a difference because the other one was emotion filled with so many emotions. So what's the difference between the two?
Understand that one of the most important lessons that we learn as souls when we come to this world and wear this body is to be able to manage emotions.
Okay, yeah.
When I wrote my first book, that was 2015, that was 7 years after the passing of my dear wife,
Mm.
pain was still part of me.
Mm.
And at the same time, I was trying to learn about who we really are and
Mm.
where is my friend.
Mm.
So there was research on one side,
Mm.
mostly,
Mm.
and then pain management,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And, you know, the truth you have to understand is relative. Eh?
Mm.
The truth changes with time. Eh?
Okay.
Yes. Uh, the fact that people think that the truth is stagnant, I think they miss the ball.
How so?
As you evolve, your truth changes.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Look at the people of this old Stone Age.
Mm.
They thought out of a stone you can get nothing, right?
Mm.
But as we evolved, out of a stone we made fire, right?
Here. Yeah.
Now, out of stones, are we not making jewelry? So the truth evolves
I
as
like
we
that
evolve.
example. I like that example.
You know what I'm trying to say? You
I
see,
get you. Yeah. Mhm.
let me tell you, what we're talking about here is
Yeah.
knowledge of today and wisdom of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We have to have an open mind.
Mm.
Open minds learn. Closed minds are dogmatic. Do you know what I say when I'm saying dogmatic? You're
Yeah.
like a pet just
Yeah.
following without thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you were gifted the mind and the brain to think.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, for example, I grew up thinking that as parents, we make children, we own them. No, we don't make children. Children are independent souls that choose to come through us. They may be only looking for genes of your body, and that's it. When they grow up, they become themselves. Do you think Hitler was taught by his parents what he did? Do you think what you are today, you were all taught by your parents? Why do you always say teens are rude? They're not rude. They are becoming
They're figuring
themselves.
themselves out.
They are becoming themselves.
Yeah, they're figuring themselves out. Yeah.
Yes, because those are independent souls that chose you to, you are just an airport.
Mm,
Maybe, like I said, maybe they need the genes of the body you are wearing. If it
mm,
is a gene that gives them longer life, which is what they want to do because they have a lot to do, they
mm,
come for that. But you don't make children. You don't own children. Those are independent souls.
mm,
You see, that's why I'm saying knowledge of today and wisdom of tomorrow, these are things that are not taught at school. But
mm,
these are the things that lead us to unconditional love. Once you understand that no one is the same as you, no one has a duplicate life like yours. So there's
mm.
no basis of you judging another person
That's it.
because
That's
we are different. We have different question papers here.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what alternative do we have? Love each other unconditionally. Don't put condition because
Yeah.
we're different.
Yeah.
A pink rose and a red rose in one garden, they're both roses, beautiful in their own way.
Mm.
They shouldn't be fighting because the other one is purple and the other one is green.
Right. So for
This is what
people
we
who
need
do
to
not
learn. Hmm?
sorry, as we're running out of time, just to conclude some of these questions, as we have heard your journey, and people can go on and read Journeys of My Soul, the survival of a single parent father, with the way that you chose to heal through research, through figuring yourself out, through trying to communicate with your wife. For people who may not believe in that way of healing, what would be your advice to them? Because there's one that you said, okay, people need to figure themselves out as an individual. But is there a way, say maybe a Christian is still in their way of thinking to say, you know what, God is in control, it is what it is. What advice would you give?
The advice I would give is don't have fear.
That's it.
Remove fear.
Okay.
It's not up to women only to raise kids, it's
Mm,
up to men as well.
that's it.
We are all souls, we are all created equal,
Mm,
but individually different.
right.
If, as a man, you
Mm,
find yourself having been left by your partner to raise children the way I did, don't be afraid.
mm,
Don't be shy.
to
Be
ask for
who you are. Be
mm,
who you are
mm,
and take it as destiny.
mm.
Challenges make us grow and become wiser.
That's it. Yeah.
I experienced this personally. That's why I titled my book the way I titled it.
Mm,
I raised these kids until they are adults now.
mm,
There was no stepmother,
mm,
there was no girlfriend.
mm,
It was me and the kids and
mm,
my. So I put my story out there so as to help and appeal to other men
mm,
who, because of conditioning culturally or otherwise,
mm.
think that, oh, I've been left with the children, let me rush to remarry.
To find somebody who can raise my kids or who can help me raise my kids. If I,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Ask, Men should sit down and ask themselves deep inside, is this the right path I'm taking, or I'm shifting responsibility?
Right.
Because shifting responsibility is like fighting and running away because you live to fight another day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So before one makes a move after the situation that I faced, it is very prudent to sit down with no emotions, search your soul. The heart is the seat of the soul. The heart will never let you down.
That's it.
If you listen to what your heart says when you're looking at your children and what you want to decide to do, if you find that the heart is saying something different from what you are thinking, I would advise that you follow the heart.
Yeah.
But fear should be, God is not the author of fear.
Mm.
Know that. If you
Mm.
put fear in the terms of saying, I'm trying to avoid this, that is fear. Fear will always stop you on your tracks.
And apparently, some people have put it to say fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
I would be happy if we had a series so that I develop this kind of experience that I had. I'm not out here to convert anyone. No, I'm just sharing my story.
Yeah.
Whoever resonates with it, let it be. But
Yeah.
whoever doesn't, it's all the same. But I'm just putting it out there so that men like me
Hmm.
should not always think that it is for the women to raise children,
That's it.
not women alone. We can also do it because I did it.
So, do you think men are receptive to getting such advice from women? Because, of course, women we're nurturers, right? And for me to be having this series, it's because we're seeing a high rate of suicide in men because not every man had the opportunity to think the way you think, to say, I need to dig deeper within me. Right. And then some women, as most women, are nurturers and are able to say, you know what, I want to help this person the best way I can, not in any sort of relationship, but then if you see somebody struggling, how best can we help as naturals that we are, if somebody is not gifted the way you are.
Uh, I'll tell you one thing. Culture is man-made,
Okay, yeah.
and most of us as Africans were brought up under cultural beliefs.
Mm.
But most people never think that culture is man-made. They think it's some supernatural law that came from the sky somewhere. Culture is man-made, and culture can
Right.
be changed by man.
Yeah.
God has nothing to do with culture.
Yeah.
And if God lives in you, if you hold the Bible and say you're going to church and you believe in God, you are part of God by virtue of being a soul.
Mm.
When the Bible says we are a reflection of God, it is the soul part of you that is a spark from that spirit.
Absolutely.
So there's no fear. God doesn't fear anything.
Mm.
If you are afraid, you are afraid of cultural beliefs that were put in you as you grew up.
Mm. Mm.
Those are the things that create fear in you.
Mm.
Like I said, this is the reason why I'm in this interview, to try and plant a seed in men that it is possible for men to raise children without shifting responsibility.
I like that.
Yes. When you engage a woman, there has to be love. If it is natural love, then that is your life path.
Yeah.
You don't engage a woman with the sole aim of raising your family without love. This is what brings about violence in marriages and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because there is no love.
Mm. Mm.
The very first thing that made you meet the first wife and have those children should be the very thing that you should feel when you move on to another one, and that will be your destiny.
Mm.
But other than that, whatever you'll be doing is shifting responsibility.
Wow.
So this is the very reason why I put my book out there.
Wow.
For those that resonate with it, maybe they will help pass the message.
That's powerful. That's
But
powerful.
for those who cannot, it's still fine. But the seed has been planted. Like I
Yeah.
said, with time, the truth changes.
Yeah.
One day, 10 years after, they will say, oh, I remember an interview with Amanda. Some guy was talking about this. So this is how it feels. You see what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, everyone will know what we are and who we are. And
Wow.
in the end, we'll go back home together where we come from.
Wow. That is so
So
profound. And
it's
that
a
is
journey.
like the
Life
golden
is a
nugget
journey.
right there. That is the golden nugget. I love that. I love it because at the end of the day, it is about helping, the men out there to try and figure out life in every aspect there: mental health, grieving, emotional well being, social well being. Some people have no way to maneuver, like you're saying. It could be culturally engraved to say,
Yes.
supposed to think this way, or they can't move on without a female presence to help raise and shifting responsibility, like you said, which is factual, right, based off of our culture. And we truly appreciate you putting a book like this out there. And you mentioned something interesting, that there's a new book coming out. Is it something that follows this piece of literature, or are we now getting deeper into metaphysics? Any hints, hints, hints?
It's a little bit of everything.
Oh, wow.
The unexplained parts of the first book
Yeah.
and the life after
Wow.
and the introduction into the real metaphysics.
Wow. We want to see that. We want to read that, and we cannot wait for it. It is so exciting. And whenever you're ready to read, or when is it coming out actually? I feel like it's
It is
close
a secret.
by. I feel like it's close by. We're pushing for journeys of my soul. Like I'm thinking, okay, now we hear there's a second one, yet we need to push more of the journeys of my soul. When should we expect the second one? Any
Yeah,
dates?
I would say let's give it 12 months.
Okay.
It's in the making. I'm taking my time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you see, when I write, I'm not like other writers, big time writers that take time off and camp outside somewhere and do the thing one time. I'm a guy who, like, if I get an enlightenment today, I
Mm,
might get another one after 2 days.
mm.
And that's how I write.
Yeah, yeah,
Mind
yeah.
you, I never thought I could write a book.
Well, you did.
You know,
You did.
my
Yeah.
publisher said, do you know everyone can write, but
Oh,
not
yeah,
everyone
everyone
can
can.
publish.
And that's what I believe too. I believe that to be true.
Yeah. So that encouraged me to continue with this writing and discover myself more. You see,
Mm.
there's one thing I forgot to tell you. Every one of us has a natal chart that tells you what you have come to do in this earth, how many children you're going to have, how many wives you're going to have, what you are working on.
No, how
It's
many
all
husbands we're gonna have?
called the
I'm
natal
just
chart. Oh yeah, it's not hidden. Everyone has got it.
How do
So,
you figure that out then?
like I said, it's a long story again.
Yeah,
My work is not something you can summarize in 1 hour.
1 hour. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of questions because it's new to most people from our continent because the way we were brought up
Mm,
is not the way I am saying things as they stand today.
mhm.
And like I said, never never listen to what anyone say. Listen to what your heart says. Right?
That's it. Yeah,
Learn from you. Each one of us is writing their Bible.
that's it.
What you experience today will help you tomorrow. This is why you find other people when they see somebody doing something that they once did, and maybe they know what that leads to, they try to give advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're not allowed to just give advice. You know, spiritual, you're not allowed to give advice unless you're asked.
Really?
Of course, you may stop that soul from learning its lesson.
But what if you realize that the lesson was painful and you don't want the next person to experience the pain?
It's not up to you. It's like, I'll give you an example. If you tell a baby, don't touch that stove, it's hot,
Yeah. Oh,
what will
they want to
happen?
go and touch it.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyone who does what you did, let them do it unless they come and ask you. Then you can
Yeah.
tell them.
Oh
Because
wow.
if you always tell them answers, those people will never learn. They take things for granted.
That's it.
And
That's it.
it's your karma too, because you are interfering with their growth.
Wow.
So be very careful when you give advice. Is it
Wow.
sophisticated or you are just giving advice?
Yeah.
And the other thing, people should know that every one of us has access to God direct because we
That's
are souls.
that's
You
it.
don't need me to pray for you. Why would I do that? Pray
Yeah.
for yourself.
I believe that to be true too. The fact that everybody was created in his image, everybody,
Yeah,
and we're told we have the power to talk to
yeah,
him directly because greater is he that is within us than he that is in the world. So why depend on he that is in the world, yet that he that is within us gives us
yeah.
access to the
Yeah.
power.
Beautiful. You got the answer right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that to be true too. Yeah.
I used to smoke. I
Mm.
used to drink.
Yeah.
I didn't need therapy for stopping.
But then you said if you need guidance, you're allowed to seek the guidance, no?
Yes, you are allowed. If you ask for it,
If
then
you
you
are,
get it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I would not go out just because I'm observing your life and start advising you what to do.
That's it.
That is not allowed.
Hmm.
Spiritual.
Yeah,
Let the person ask, oh man, I've been trying to do this. It's giving me a headache. How can I go around this? In
yeah,
your answer, you just say, I would do this. You
yeah,
don't tell the
yeah,
person, do this.
yeah.
In your situation, I would do this.
Yeah, personally, I would. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yes,
how I respond.
that's
Yeah,
the right way. That
yeah.
way, you empower that person in their lives.
Mm.
When I'm coming to help you, I don't want to help you so that you are dependent on me and come back tomorrow. I want
Absolutely.
to help you in a way that I set you into the motion of moving on your own.
Mm. Mm.
A hungry person there, you want to find out why they are in that situation. Don't just give them money so that tomorrow they come back.
Mm.
Ask them, why don't you have food? If I asked you tomorrow to come and weed my garden, and then I'll give you $5. What do you think? Something like that. You set that person into motion. That way, that's positive karma for you. You
Mm.
increase your vibration, you become a better person.
Mm.
But if you give that person a donut, you have not done anything.
That's it. That's it.
You know what
No,
I'm saying?
we've actually gone beyond our time, and we truly, truly appreciate your wisdom. And you're so right that we need to have this discussion deeper, more of a series more than anything, right? Because honestly, there's a lot to learn out there. And there's one thing that I've learned, to be honest, is we need to unlearn what we
Yeah,
know in order
that
for
is
us to
true.
learn as we
That
evolve.
is true.
You understand? And there's some people who have this whole thing. This is what I know. This is how it is. This is how it's gonna go. And I'm like, so where is
That is
growth? And having to assess yourself, try and figure you out. I totally, totally understand where you're coming from, and we truly appreciate your knowledge. Today's knowledge, tomorrow's wisdom. Hey, I caught on that one. I caught on that one. Thank you so much, coming through. And thank you so much, for sharing your knowledge, your journey, and even just, the special jam that you threw to us. Because you know what? This is for the man who's grieving. Do not shift responsibility. You
That is
can do
true.
it because everybody can.
That is
And
true.
we really, really appreciate it. And we look forward to, the launch of the relaunch of Journeys of My Soul. Definitely, we will put the details out there once you're ready and we can
Okay.
venture into that journey together. It will be so exciting because, it's got a lot of information, honestly. But I am going to have to read the second book because I had read the first one. I didn't know there were two different,
Yeah.
out there. But thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for according me this window
Yeah,
to put my story out there physically.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, Hopefully, we shall meet again when I relaunch
yeah, yeah,
my book, as my work, as you say, and
yeah,
hopefully we'll have a series worked out so that for the benefit of those who cannot lay their hands on the book, but
right.
maybe can get YouTube, whatever
Yeah,
recordings.
yeah,
Uh, we will have a good journey together. I
yeah.
have that
And you
feeling.
know me, I am persistent.
You are, you are. This interview was 3 months coming.
I'm like, no, I am not quitting. The moments when you're about to quit, you're like, nope, nope, I am not quitting. This is a good story. I am not quitting. No. But no, I totally understand. You also have a busy schedule, and I truly, truly appreciate making time for this discussion.
Thank you so much for
All
the
right.
window.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we will meet again. And thank you for to those who will ever listen to this one.
Right.
Hopefully, our little discussion has planted a seed somewhere.
Right, absolutely. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching this episode and just the whole season 5 of the Amanda Natanda Show as we focus on cherishing the men. You heard it for yourselves as we're talking about grieving today with Makachi Chimusaru, who's based out here in Alberta, Canada. And if you want to learn more, feel free to get his book, Journeys of My Soul, The Survival of a Single Parent Father. You can find it on Amazon. You can download the Kindle one, or you can get the hard copy version. But definitely, there's going to be a relaunch for that one. So look out for that on all your social streaming platforms. With that being said, this is the end of our episode today. Keep watching and remember, little girls with dreams become women of vision. Take care. God bless you. And I love you. Mwah. Bye.
Bye bye.